Military sexual trauma can affect people of all backgrounds, regardless of their age, race, gender identity, or sexual orientation. No matter how long it's been since the experience, you can get compassionate care from VA to support your healing. Learn about the many care options designed to help military sexual trauma survivors. To get started, call your local VA facility and ask to speak with your MST coordinator.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. I'm your host. My name is Travis. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hubazoo Network. You can find out more on hubazoo.com. I want to thank my sponsors, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Army National Guard veteran of Mark Holmes of Reapers Detailing and Power Washing, and my supporters, Cason Shaving Company, Black Cat Designs, and Savage American Woodwork, all veteran-owned businesses. I can't believe this year is flying by as fast as it's been. And, it's June when this drops. It's crazy. But I'm going through my Instagram and, checking out the gram and trying to look at motorcycles and stuff like that. And I see this cool thing on my feed about the Family Flex study. And I don't know why, but I was like, I have to know more. So I reached out. And through back and forth and scheduling and, my stuff and everything else, I'm talking with Rohini Bragrodia from Columbia University. Rohini, welcome to Oscar Mike Radio.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is great. And I had all kinds of questions. And it just got me that, you had a educational entity like Columbia interested enough to do this. So before we get into the good stuff, well, it's all good. Give us a little background about, who Rohini is and, how you got into this kind of work. And do you have any military family connections?
Absolutely. So again, thank you so much. And I am Rohini. I'm currently a PhD doctoral student at Columbia. And I'm working with my research mentor advisor, Dr. George Bonanno. He is the director of the Loss, Trauma, and Emotion Lab, as well as the Resiliency Center for Veterans and Families at Columbia. So I am not a veteran myself. And to be honest, it started a little bit randomly for me. 10 years ago, there was an opening in trauma studies research lab, and I found it to be interesting. And it was there that I first started working with the veteran population. And like I said, 10 years later, here I am still just, struck by the varied mental health needs of veterans, and the real difficulties and issues that I think veterans constantly face at all stages, whether that's separating from the military, to even current events. And underneath all of that, though, I'm always inspired by the phenomenal resiliency of this population. I think that's kept me just wanting to work more and more and more year after year after year. Yeah.
Did anybody in your family serve the military?
No,
Okay.
I'm first generation. And so my family were immigrants and I'm the first generation here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well. So looking at what you all do, and it's Columbia University, for the layman out there, including myself, how does clinical research differ from, say, and I'm not trying to be dismissive here, but from a marketing study or, a radio survey, for example, how does that discipline differ from other disciplines, if that makes sense?
That's a great question. I think all of these disciplines or these are all different approaches of kind of understanding the collective or what is that narrative that's happening currently. I think maybe the best way to think about it is clinical research topic tends to be more on those clinical issues. So what is the larger scope of those mental health or psychological struggles that a population is dealing with or contending with? And I think the best way for me, what I find clinical research really does is it finds these underlying patterns in these various experiences that people bring to us. And so it finds that trend. So what is, maybe at one point you're feeling all alone in something, but actually when you come into the larger research study, you're realizing that there's so many other people that are dealing with the same thing. And then it becomes something to actually work with, something to move that can impact policy, that can impact the resources that are then disseminated. What do those resources actually look like? Is it going to be targeting that problem that we're noticing that so many people are bringing to us? And how's the best way to target it?
Gotcha. Now, I'm looking on, and you're on Reddit, you're on Twitter, Facebook, a cool website. But I got to thinking, as we were trying to get this going, where does the, for lack of a better term, the idea come from to do a study like this? Because it doesn't seem like you'd have to sit there and think to yourself, well, you know what, I think I want to, look at this particular part of the veteran experience. And the reason I ask is it's so varied. Just geography, affected my Marine Corps experience. So where did that idea come to even, think about doing this?
I would say it's twofold. As I mentioned, my advisor, he's done some really phenomenal work in the field. And so if you allow me to give a little bit of context of where the study or the larger idea came from. Our lab and Dr. Bonanno's work has shown and repeatedly studied these now fairly accepted patterns of psychological responses or coping responses that individuals show. In general, that includes veterans. They show these pattern of responses after a traumatic or adverse event. And those patterns can range from resiliency to struggling with the negative impact of that event and having to face a few more struggles like anxiety, depression, PTSD, etc. Honing more specifically on the veteran population, our lab has focused on these pivotal times in a veteran's life, including separating from the military, which itself is a stressful and difficult process, to the present day struggles with the pandemic and everything in between. And what is that veteran's experience? What are the veteran's patterns of responses? How does that map out onto those typical patterns of responses? And so with that underlining context of, okay, if these are 4 patterns that exist, what is it that places an individual on one of those patterns? What are those factors that dictate resiliency or potentially contribute to, dealing with some more of these struggles that some people are facing? And so really exciting work that's being done is they're focusing on what are these factors? What are these contributions that is placing someone on these trajectories? And we're looking in that within individuals in the community, or also specifically in the veteran population itself. So while this work is being done and it's so phenomenal and interesting, it's still always been with the veteran and at the individual level. And there was this one pivotal moment for me in my arc when a veteran shared, and I'll never forget this quote, "I have a job, a wonderful wife, and 3 great kids. So why do I still feel so bad?" And luckily, the project was geared towards supporting the veteran and helping understand what was that underlying distress that was kind of clouding everything else. I, however, could not stop thinking about his wife and 3 kids, and the other spouses and partners and children in veteran families, and wondering what was their experience. That I'm so fortunate, and I think it was so fortunate that there was a space for that veteran's voice, but I also wanted to hear the impact on that spouse and those 3 kids and other spouses. So as I began to do a little bit more of investigation, I realized that with so much great work being done in general, there was still quite a lack of resources for that larger family unit. And we know what's so important for veteran mental health is that larger social support that includes their family, that includes their community. And so I feel that, and I've heard from stories that veteran spouses and children, they just deserve the more comprehensive services and recognition for all that they do hold. So I wanted to translate Dr. Bonanno's work and apply that to the larger family unit.
Got it. Gotcha.
Yeah.
One thing that I kind of wanted to cover is on the Facebook page, it has Meet the Team.
Yeah.
So how does one like yourself get involved in a project like this? Now, you mentioned 10 years ago. How do you and your peers, colleagues, get selected, decide to do this, come together to do this kind of work? Because again, it's not like a marketing survey where we do it for 3 months, 6 months, and it's over with. You've mentioned years.
We have the most phenomenal team, and it is all volunteer based.
Really?
Yeah, it's all volunteer. There's 25 of us now, and it started with a group of 5. They are primarily students, but some of them have graduated and still continue to work with us because of just their interest and desire to contribute to this type of work. I think they are, and just like myself, are fueled by the stories we hear and the outcome that we're hoping for, that the translating what we're hearing into making these like tangible resources and contributing to the field in this way. So yes, it's an all volunteer based, primarily student run team. It's a mix of both just some of our team does have veterans in themselves, people who identify as veterans, and which is great because we really lean on that expertise to help identify our blind spots or my blind spots, that where am I not recognizing something, or is something I'm just not being able to see because I'm not a veteran myself. And this team has been incredible in contributing to finding all these different avenues as a way for us to build this small family flexibility community into something larger, and with a little bit hopefully more of a national presence.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is my next question. We're going to get off the kind of touchy-feely stuff for a couple minutes, but
Sure.
studies, clinical research that I do in my professional career, and even OMR, is based on data and metrics, right? So if you can, what are, I don't know, key process indicators, key risk indicators, key metrics you use to, understand if a veteran and his family are struggling or they're thriving? How's that framework built?
So
If you can.
I think, yeah, sure, absolutely. And thank you for the caveat, because there's some things that just because it is an
Right,
ongoing
right.
research study, I won't be able to share fully. But I'll start with the kind of umbrella theme, which is something Dr. Bonanno always says, and that's kind of the metrics are along these lines of this theory that we are constantly adapting as we go along. And when something major happens and it throws us for a loop, we still have to keep adapting as we go along. And so our metrics in this study are all about trying to figure out what are these different ways that a veteran, the veteran spouse and their teen are adapting to things that come up. Um,
No,
and
no, 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 no. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
yes, of course,
so I wouldn't call myself a researcher, but I've had to do research
totally.
or do investigations, right? And generally the framework is static. It does not change, it does not adapt. You're trying to be very in place to make the data match up. With that kind of approach that you all are doing, does that mean that your data points also adjust to what you find as you're going along?
No, thank you so much for clarifying that. So that you're 1,000% correct. That's so important for us to be static and to continue
Okay.
having the same data points at all points. And so I guess what I can start with is saying that in general, our data points are capturing certain mental health responses, like the classic mental health responses that a veteran may or may not show, or the veteran family may or may not show. So that includes along the lines of symptoms of depression, symptoms of anxiety, symptoms of distress. We're also capturing family functioning and like family dynamics. So how is the family operating together? What are certain feelings about different family members? How would they define the relationship? And then most importantly, and this is where the adapting piece was coming in, is we're capturing how does a family or how does that individual family member adapt? What is their coping
Got
style?
it,
Is
got it,
there
got
a
it,
way of regulating their emotions?
got it, got it. So there's a proverbial fork in the road, and one group goes one way, one group goes another way. And let me see if I got this right now. your data that you collected will allow you to help you determine why they went left or right.
Absolutely. And it's what is that contributing factor that placed someone in down that one fork of the road or the other. That's a perfect way of putting it.
Okay.
And just to give a term to that is the term that we're really researching in the lab. So almost all our projects are revolving around this term is emotion regulation flexibility, or the flexibility mindset. And I think one thing that, what places someone on the road or not is the fact that there is no magic trait. There's not one thing that's always going to lead you down one path and one thing that's always going to lead you down another path. But rather, it's the way that we look at a situation, understand that that situation is unique, pay attention to that situation, and evaluate what specific mechanism or process is needed to best move through that situation, recognizing that something very different might be needed in a different situation.
Okay. That's very profound, because, and I'll tell you why. There's certain big time veteran celebrities out there that will tell you discipline is the only thing that will get you through life. Discipline is all that matters. Everything else is meaningless. Now, I'm not going to get into my personal background a whole lot right here, right now, but I learned the last 2 years that it's not just discipline. For me, it was gratitude plus belief and motivation. I could go into that. That's different, but it was more than just discipline. I had to believe that I could get through the challenge in front of me. I had the motivation to do it, and the discipline was just a byproduct of all those things. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
That is like, it's so on point of, I think, what we're getting at. And I love how you even framed it, is that all of those things together is actually what contribute to discipline versus the other way around. Dr. Bonanno speaks about this flexibility mindset as having 3 components.
Okay.
First is attitude, specifically optimism. It's the way of telling yourself that you can get through it. Second, you literally said it, was confidence in your ability to cope, your conviction, and however it's reached, whatever resources you use to get there. And then the third is viewing this as a challenge and having a challenge appraisal. So rather than thinking of something as a threat, it's actually a challenge to overcome. And it's these 3 components that contribute to our way of thinking about stress, how we embrace stress or distress, and how we move through it.
So, okay, I'll give you the backstory.
Yeah, great.
Almost 2 years ago, almost to the day, I ruptured my right quadricep tendon. It came into old Marine Corps injury that the check finally cashed, and pow. And, I was told, that you got a couple of choices. We can get you back to where you just can move around, or you're going to have to put your head down, because I compete in weightlifting and I really enjoyed it. And I want to do other things in my life. And they're like, my surgeon, my coach, and my physical therapist, like, you're going to have to put your head down. And it's going to take about 18 months to 2 years to get back to where you were.
Wow.
And I couldn't walk for, because once the quadricep tendon is ruptured, you can't walk. Mm-hmm. Pain was a, constant companion for a long time. And I am like, this, like a better term, sucks every day. And so what do I do? And because I talked to other people who had this injury, and they just like, what this is going to get. I'm just going to pop pills the rest of my life, and I'm just not going to do it. And I don't know what the genesis was, but I was motivated to get back on the lifting platform. I was motivated to, be the best I could be. And so when I was in PT, and that's where it really got fun, it was not fun. I had to hold on to the fact, okay, I'm getting through this.
Yeah.
This is temporary. I'm a savage badass. I will freaking accomplish this. Then all of a sudden, progress started being made. I had to eat some humble pie and realize I can't do what I used to do. It's going to take time to get that back. Understand why my coach put the leash on me pretty tight, and the surgeon who's like, I want you to do this. So all that culminated in the last literally 2 months, I'm like, I'm feeling great.
Wow.
I can walk up and down stairs with no problem now. I'm moving.
Yeah.
And so I wrote about it, and I'm like, discipline's important. I'm not going to, dismiss that. But if I didn't believe, you know, the day after I had surgery that I was going to be back where I was, I would have had the motivation to do the work and the discipline to stay consistent. So
Right.
that's what you all are trying to do, and that's how it resonated with me just now.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's there are two sides of the same coin. You have to
Okay.
have that belief and that way of thinking about moving through a challenge and or an adversity, and then move through it with discipline. But I don't necessarily think discipline can also sometimes, if it's code for rigidity, then yes, that comes underneath what we were just talking about, is that belief of I can do it, I will overcome it, is so critical.
So we'll get to some of your personal stuff here in a minute, but the overall goal of the study is to collect this information. So you're not doing this just for nothing. What's the end goal, or what's the objective when the research project is completed, or maybe it's ongoing? I don't know, but what are the goals, and where are you at right now with the project as a whole?
We are very much in the middle phase. So it's definitely ongoing. And we are maybe middle phase is more accurate, as we're very much in the like running of the participants, really inviting families to come in and collecting this data. And our goal is just exactly what we were talking about, and how we've noticed that it's this mindset. We've noticed that there's this flexibility that's quite beneficial, and that helps us move through events on an individual level. We want to see what that looks like with the larger family unit. How do different family members relate to each other, and how they're flexible or not? Are parent and child equally less flexible? Are they equally demonstrating flexibility, or are they actually at opposite ends? And what do these different configurations of moving through these events and how they move these events contribute to overall wellness and functioning, contribute to overall mental health? So our goal is to understand just this: is what patterns of being or relating to each other foster overall adjustment, or potentially lead to difficulties, and ultimately seeing how this flexible emotion regulation can support families, and in what ways is it supporting families against potential mental health issues that can come up in light of adverse events such as the recent pandemic.
So are you, what I'm hearing, just in, if I'm listening correctly, is the veteran parent, for example, can have a direct impact on the spouse and children as to their flexibility capability, whether they, thrive or struggle based on how they're living their life.
I think it's the street goes two ways. So I
Okay.
think that the veteran parent will have an impact on their other family members, but their other family members will have an impact on the veteran parent as well. And so it's, I think, why understanding it as the larger family unit is, it's not so much, oh, one person is the issue person, but rather there is something happening at a family level, and what can be done to support the full family in contributing to their overall wellness. So if there's a struggle happening, what resources can be provided to actually maybe better align family members with each other, or provide training and flexibility, provide support in building that capacity, wherever there might be an issue, not necessarily just looking at, oh, this one person is the issue or not.
So in as much as you can, what are some things that you've experienced going through this project that indicates a family is going to be flexible enough to, thrive, or, struggle? Because, and the reason I kind of want to know that is, I was talking with a veteran service officer where, they see on the ground what you all are seeing is, a lot of time there's almost so much focus on the veteran that the family And by and large, the children are, to be blunt, ignored. And so, what do you see that makes someone or a family unit rather thrive or struggle, if you can, as much as you can?
I wish I had an answer to that, but I think that very question is what put this study in
Yeah.
motion.
Okay. All
So
right.
when this study is done, I will come right back and share everything I can about
Okay.
it. But we're right in it, so I don't know if I can answer that
Okay.
fully.
No problem.
Yeah.
Just come back, and I'm looking forward to that. Appreciate
I
it.
promise I will.
Fantastic. So you're investing for no money, right? You're not getting paid anything, right? So what fuels Rohini to keep doing this work? You're going for your doctorate, which means you're several orders of magnitude smarter than me. You're a mom, which means you're definitely Oscar Mike. You definitely know. So that's military speak for on the move. So you're
Yeah.
Oscar Mike, right? All the time. Look, folks, we did this very early in the morning to accommodate things. So she is go, go, go. You have family, you have responsibilities. What's fueling you to keep doing this branch of work, Rohini?
The stories I hear.
Yeah.
It has been such an honor to work with families, and then specifically the families that are in our study. And they share the peaks and valleys of what their experiences are. And, there are so many things that we can relate to, and there's some things that I can't relate to at all. And just hearing those variations between, and just being so touched by the way that they're being shared with me in their full honesty and their full vulnerability. I think I've never had such a fortunate role to hear these stories so directly. And then to hear them from the teens themselves, that these are teens who also want better for their family. These are teens who want to share about their family. There's pride in there no matter what is happening. And I think that I find myself inspired by the creativity I hear and how people move through difficult times and tough moments, the endless compassion that is constantly conveyed no matter what's going on, and then just the grit, I think, is what keeps me going, is when I hear how other people are just like striving for better, and as you said, putting your head down and just going through it, always searching for, maybe is there another solution out there or something that can facilitate it being different. It's been a very humbling experience and an eye-opening one for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Just to go back a little bit, um, we're doing this research now, and these are questions that haven't been asked before to this level.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you think prior generations, and we're doing this kind of questions and research now, Rohini, and as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about the past, and as I understand it, you're of Indian descent or Indian, ethnicity. Excuse me, and India had to fight in World War II and World War I to gain its independence from Britain. And there had to be a lot of, just like, World War II for US citizens, there had to be a lot of trauma there for Indian citizens as well. My question is what do you think was going on in prior generations? How do you think that they dealt with, loss, change, and hardship from war
Yeah.
that we didn't ask back then? Or did they just bury it and not talk about it at all? Does that make sense?
100%. And I think in my own investigations about this, um, I even think about how revolutionary these past generations and these, are the past generations just set us up to do the work that we can do. There's even history in the PTSD diagnosis
Really?
that did not exist if it weren't for the veterans' experiences in those wars. That there was just, at some point, enough was enough. There's clearly a reaction happening, but there was no outlet, there was no resource for them, there was no support. So it just had to be buried down. But when you bury something down, it rears its head up in another way, and sometimes in a worse way. So finally, because of those veteran experiences, there was a recognition to include something in the diagnostic manual to formally recognize it. And that's why now we're on a we're on the 5th edition, but in the 3rd edition, for the first time, was the PTSD diagnosis, to recognize that there is a reaction happening, that there are consequences of these experiences. And with that, now support needs to come into place. We need to provide, we're asking for so much for safety, for protection, and now we need to support them on the other side. So I think the past generations definitely did not have the resources that we're hoping to cultivate, or even the support, the awareness that these things might have been happening. But I feel indebted to these past generations for helping set us up to do the work that we need to do now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because reading a whole lot about World War One, where it was just you had shell shock, and
exactly
a lot of people in World War II just self-medicated with alcohol when they got home. Vietnam War was other drugs and so on and so forth. And it seems like now that there's truly enough data to start making some headway forward. So you're doing this study. What do you need from us? How can we help Columbia University, your team, and what the good doctor is doing with this work? Is there anything that we can do?
We would love to have families come and participate. We've already had 50 wonderful families so far. And we hope to get a few more to really form that collective, to form that narration of experiences that we're really hoping to tap into. The benefit is our study is completely virtual. It was born in the time of the pandemic, so everything is done over Zoom. You can do it in the comfort of the home, and it's open to anyone who may have a teen, any veteran family who has a teenager from the age of 11 to 17, because we really want to hear from the teens' experiences as well. Our study is a paid research study. There will be 3 visits. And I'll give all the logistics are on our website and our surveys, but in order to, and if there's the desire to contribute, you can find us at Instagram. We're at Family Flex Study, and there's a link directly to participate, as well as a link to our webpage. And we have a very nice active Instagram page too, so anyone can DM if need be, and we can direct them from there. Or if you want a little bit more of information on who we are, what we're doing in a more of a formal way, if you search into Google Family Flex Study, Columbia University, we're the first link that comes up. That's directly to our webpage, which gives a little bit of our history, our purpose. It shows who we are and what the lab does, the past work, and then how to contact us too.
I will have all the links to everything in the Oscar Mike Radio website post. Like I said, I've checked out the Reddit page, the Twitter page. We got connected on the gram. I mean, we're like hip, Rohini. We got connected on the gram. And,
we're so hip.
right. Because I'm told I'm not cool at all. But anyway, we got connected on the gram and Facebook. And the cool thing is they have the post and different things going on. You can meet the team, which I thought was very interesting. About your team members real quick, it was just struck me how varied everybody is on the team. It's not like from one cross section or one even educational background. I mean, you truly have a unified, diverse team, if I can say that. What's that been like?
It has been so wonderful because everyone brings in a perspective that's needed. As we have established, I'm definitely not hip either. And Twitter would not have happened. The Twitter reach out and avenues of support, I would have not even known where to start. So having someone come in and just feel more comfortable with that and provide that perspective not only taught me, so now maybe I can send a tweet if I really put my mind to it. But they also were able to connect with people who do work, who do use Twitter and make connections that way. And then I think it's been so wonderful to have that varied team to identify the gaps that exist in any one person, but together, I feel like we've been quite a force.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Rohini, doing Oscar Mike Radio just reminds me continually about how much I don't know. So Well, I wax on this because, the philosopher said, I think it was Socrates or Herodotus, I can't remember which one, or they both said it in different ways, that the only evil is ignorance. Only
Yeah.
good is knowledge, or the only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance. And the way you all are fighting, your weapons are questions and data and research. I think that's very enlightening in this day and age.
Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful experience thus far.
So again, ladies and gentlemen, she is Mission in Flight. She is Oscar Microdia. She's Rohini Bragrodia with Columbia University doing this Family Flex study. I will have all the links in the Oscar Microdia web post and on Spotify and everywhere else. If you are a veteran with a child between the ages of 11 and 17, click on one of the links, check it out, and see about the study. Rohini, I just want to thank you for your Semper Gumby attitude in doing this show. I appreciate your patience, and I can't wait to have you back on.
Thank you.
I am circling on my calendar right now.
I will. You'll be the first to know.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you got it right there. This is just another resource for veterans and their families. Rohini, thanks again. And as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, we're Mission in Flight.
Thank you.
Join us on National Wreaths Across America Day, December 16th, 2023. Each December on National Wreaths Across America Day, our mission to remember, honor, and teach is carried out by coordinating wreath-laying ceremonies at Arlington National Cemetery, as well as more than 3,700 additional locations in all 50 states, at sea and abroad. Join us by sponsoring a veteran's wreath at a cemetery near you, volunteering, or donating to a local sponsor group.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 998 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.